Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Black Sand Journal. I'm Seti Matua, your host. I have a special treat for you today. Special is going to be an important word for today because we're joined by Sui Ama'ama, my good friend. He is actually someone that I love and admire. I've really thought about this and thought that he would be a good addition to the show. So I'm going to give him an opportunity to share some of his thoughts, introduce himself, and then we'll jump into a couple of things that I had in mind. Hopefully, this will be a conversation that will help everyone out. Specialist, go ahead.
Appreciate it. First of all, thank you so much, Seti, for the opportunity as well as the platform. Um, like Seti said, we've known each other for a long time. Our kids played sports together. So if that tells you how long that we've known each other, and then through that, that was my first time meeting Seti, and then from there, which I just kind of grew to love and understand him and his family, his beautiful wife as well as his boys. So we have a lot in common, at least on the boys' side, right? We have I have three boys of my own, and Seti has majority of all boys. They've all grown up now, right? They've all grown up and
Yeah.
started their own family, which is amazing. So I haven't reached that point yet, but I will. So as Seti mentioned, my name is Sui. I'm known. I think I'm known. At least that's what I tell myself in my own mind. I'm known throughout the valley
Definitely.
and at least in Utah, as a DJ specialist. So I've played at a lot of functions and been a part of a lot of celebrations, events, people's special moments. I've done that for many years. With that is as my wife. We've been married for about 30 years, and we have three boys. My oldest started off in Utah, ventured throughout Tennessee, and now is currently in California at USC. Middle one went to Virginia, and now he's at UNR, University of Reno, Nevada. And then my youngest one graduated, and since moving back from Virginia, has attended is now attending Utah. So we have a little girl. Her name is Coco. She's our furry family friend, family whatever you want to call it. So she kind of keeps everything moving around the house, and that's who we are. So above all the different titles I hold, I'm just a simple family man and father, husband, father, and hopefully a good friend to guys like Seti and many others. So that's who I am.
Beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate that, Sui. Talk a little bit about, and this is for the listening audience. This is an opportunity for me to, or for you to see a little bit of a different side of me, at least. I know people listening in see that one side of me where I'm a disciple of Christ, family man, etc. But after hours, when I'm shooting the breeze with the boys, this is who I am. I love to listen to conversations, have a good laugh, and uh, it's one of the things that I love about Sui is he can take a moment and turn it into something that's hilarious. So I'm hoping that some of that happens today in this conversation. But you mentioned that you guys moved to Tennessee for a little bit. Your oldest dog, um, following that path of coaching and eventually becoming a Division I recruiter. He's now at USC, but it's a very different um, life on the East Coast. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with your family on the East Coast? Because we typically come through the typical path of Hawaii to California and then on to places unknown, but very few of us, unless we're military or work takes us there. Tell me about your experience.
Wonderful, wonderful, great question. So, Virginia is a beautiful place. A lot of country. So where we stayed at was in Charlottesville, Virginia, and so it was a college town, and that's where my middle son Snoop played. He played for the University of Virginia, so UVA. We moved there after receiving a phone call from him that actually it wasn't him, it was his coaches that kind of mentioned, "Hey, he's starting to drop a lot of weight. I think he's starting to miss home." And I've raised we've been hands on with our kids for many years, so We rarely allow them to go, stay at anyone's homes, for long periods of time. We're super hands on. We know what they're into, their likes, their dislikes, whatever they're into. That's what we, kind of follow suit. So, for a kid that's been, raised 18 years around family to be thrown into, a situation where he had to, oh my gosh, all of
Yeah.
a sudden grow up overnight. I think that's the reality of that. A lot of parents don't take into account, especially if your kid is moving out of state, is that there's that transition phase because of our culture, right? Because of how close our culture is with family.
Yeah.
A lot of that were hurdles that he had to overcome. So the coaches had reached out to us and told us, to come out to Virginia, or actually they said, hey, he's starting to decline in his weight, not eating. He was losing too much. So, at the time, I mean, at the time, I was engulfed in so many different projects and things going on, not just
Yeah.
with work, but also with the DJ side of things. I mean, I had longtime clients that counted on me for certain functions every single year. It was annual for them, right? So, you know, when your kid calls you, like anything else, you say, you know what?
Yeah.
You ask yourself that, what's going to be important. So we were blessed and fortunate enough to relocate with the same working companies. Unfortunately, I stopped DJing at that time. Every once in a while, when I would travel back for work, I try to time it so that I can, take care of the few clients that I did have. But the majority of the time, I gave that up. We gave up seeing, you know, familiar places to living on GPS. We gave up, associations, relationships that we had built, family and friends, just to go out there. So, but we made that. This wasn't a long and a hard decision. So it
Yeah.
wasn't a hard decision and it wasn't a long one either. Both of which my wife and I spoke, about. And I was only reciprocating what I have seen my parents do. I'm sure this is a familiar story for many Polynesians, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Parents leave, their homeland and in the islands, right, to migrate here for what? For their kids. So I was only reciprocating what I saw them do. So I did the same thing without even thinking. I mean, I think I got a call like on a Monday. The following Friday, we were selling the house and we were out. I
Yeah.
literally, yeah, and that was during the COVID time, so a lot of that was a little difficult to do.
Right.
Yeah, but we none of those things mattered to us, the not to say that the relationships didn't matter, because if you were good to us and you were close to us, you were still going to be close whether we
Yeah.
were here or there. So we went out there. And to going back to your original question of heading back to Virginia. Virginia is a beautiful place. Um, Moving out there, you had to adjust to the culture, right? So there's the demographics as well as the culture of that area, right?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
you're in the South, and I'm gonna just leave it at that. They make sure that you're in the South.
Right.
So right, so
You ain't
but
down, down.
beautiful. Yeah, it was interesting, but all in all, our experience, right? So we still carried the same practices, right?
Yeah.
Sunday church,
Right.
Monday through Friday was work, and then during the off time, where we would generally be like, at this event or that event. I think we spent the majority of our time really understanding each other as a family. This was a new dynamic for us, right?
Yeah.
Asking our youngest son, who I think took the bulk of the transition,
Mm.
relocating him his junior year, going into no, his junior year. Um, and so that was something new for him. So he learned a lot of things. He had to, being a part of being in his brother's shadow. Snoop was, did everything. A lot of people knew Snoop. So, the youngest one, Slim, got a pass, in
Yeah.
a lot of the events, a lot of the introductions. Oh, you're Snoop's brother. We're moving now to a place who doesn't know Snoop. We're moving to a place who didn't know our family. So there was a lot of growth individually for each one of us.
Yeah.
My wife, myself, Snoop, and especially with our oldest too. Dog at that time he moved down to Tennessee. Had picked him up. So between Tennessee and where we stayed was about 5 hours.
Mm.
So easy. I called it the St. George run. if we
Right.
needed to. So
Right.
he was down there, we were up here, and for the first time in his life, he found himself living on his own. Like, oh my gosh, I went from staying with my parents for the majority of my high school as well as college career, and now all of a sudden, when I reached this, this this pinnacle of being an adult, this adulthood, he was forced to move away from his family, be in a completely different area where he knew nobody, absolutely nobody. We knew
Yeah.
nobody as well. We were in that same position. So here's this family who transplanted, themselves out there, and we're parents, right? So let me tell you, you put on the smile. And there were tough times, there were difficult times, and you smile, and you smile. And this is where I felt like your faith is tested. Like, there's no
Yeah.
one to cry
Yeah.
to. You can't go back home. Like, this is those points where, they say you burn the boat, you burn the
That's
ship.
right.
Like,
That's
hey,
right.
there's no turning back. This is where we're staying. And so we took that on, we took that head on. And I think, our experience out there was that religion was something that you had to live on your own.
Yeah.
It wasn't a culture. Utah, and I don't speak ill of, Utah, in my references, right? I only make mention of it so that you can see that there is a big difference out there. They
Yeah.
don't give a damn if you go to church
That's
or
right.
not.
That's
You
right.
know what I'm saying? It's another day off, right? It's literally another day off. So now you're outside of that bubble of what you're comfortable with. Of everyone goes to church, everyone does it, right? Schools are incorporated with church, right? Seminary was something,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I'm speaking a lot of truth to those polys who are outside of Utah, right? So a
Yeah.
lot of these things that they had to do, on your own, which again, you had to live your faith. You had to live the truth. You know what I mean? So
That's right.
it wasn't something. It wasn't something that you woke up to, and the neighbor was doing. Hey, I'm not going to make it to church. Can you give so and so a ride? It was like, hey, I can't make it to church. You're not making it to church. That's really what it
That's
is.
right.
You know what I mean? So those are the things that we those are some of the things, the challenges that we went through. Um, Believe it or not, I've never been outside of a Polynesian ward. Here we are now
Yeah.
at a predominantly, Caucasian ward, right?
Yep.
And my gosh, the
It's different.
difference between that is actually better. And I know you're going to trip out when you hear this, right? So I was thinking the same thing. I was walking in expecting them to, to kind of look like, who are these people, right? But the beautiful thing about them is because the members are so limited,
Yeah.
man, they welcome you. So
It
been a
becomes your
few
family.
times. Oh yeah, they literally
Yeah.
are. The ward, the ward members out there, I mean, they are truly accepting. When we speak of, gospel and that sign in the front of the church that says all visitors welcome, they
Yeah.
live that to the truth. That's a
That's right.
truth for them, right?
That's right.
Because you walk in, there's a couple times where, we attended church and the boys, either Snoop or even Dog had called us. Hey, I wanted to come up and surprise you guys, man. I'm like, man, we're at church. And they're like, oh, you want us to go wait at the house? I'm like, man, just come. Shorts, t-shirt, man, nobody said
Doesn't matter.
nothing.
Yep.
Right. And if you know my oldest son, he's tatted up. I mean, he's got,
Yeah.
Polynesian tattoos, long hair, right? Beard. He walks in, at a normal poly board, you know what I mean? No,
Right.
no diss on my poly peoples because, I love them. But I'll tell you what, someone would be asking, man, whose kid is that? Whose
Yeah.
kid? Who let him come? Man, he walked in with shorts and a Tennessee t-shirt, and everyone after sacrament walked up to him and hugged him and greeted him. Man, it's so great to see you. So there was a lot of positive, and that's
Yeah.
really what I want to highlight too. So it was truly an experience for us, right? And there's many more examples that I can pull from, but the majority of what, of what we experienced was positive. There was a
That's
lot
right.
of growth, for us as a family. When people ask us now that we've moved back to Utah County, since moving back, people ask, man, how was it? And I said, man, if you ever get a chance, go live somewhere else outside
Yeah.
of Utah, because you will experience things simple things that you take for granted. Either you take for granted, like poly food, that was a big thing for us, which actually kind of helped us out a lot because we were on a health journey too while we are out there. So all
Good.
those things, and I believe that the Lord's timing was perfect. It wasn't easy. I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
to leave and to start something new, it was not easy. And when I was mentioning that, as parents, you gotta smile. I mean, there were tough days. There were tough days, and
Right.
holidays.
Yeah.
Holidays, you make the best. The simple things that you're so accustomed to being around family. Man, we couldn't make it out sometimes because the weathers were difficult. So guess
Yeah.
what? Yeah, we made the best of it, and yeah, you celebrate the holidays together. Yeah, like
You
we
grow
did a
closer.
mini. Oh yeah, we did a
Yeah.
mini reunion because we knew there's a certain time of the year going into the summer that's when I would be busy, because I was doing a lot of reunions, right? So my wife and I had an idea. We're gonna do our own mini reunion. Sure enough, we did it. Did everything exactly like a normal reunion, but this time it was just a party of five. But those are the things, right? So still same traditions, just accustoming
Different
trying to
place.
accustom that to the place that you're at. So to
Yeah.
answer that question, sorry to go in a long roundabout spiel. That
Now,
was our experience in on the East Coast. It was beautiful, it was difficult, but it was also worth it.
lot of good stuff there, Sui. Thanks for sharing. As you were sharing, it just kind of reminded me of you got an opportunity to experience what a lot of our parents, sometimes grandparents, had to endure when they
For
left the
sure.
islands to come here. They
Yep.
came here. They didn't know anybody. I mean, this is a brand new culture, a brand new way of life. They had to figure it out.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of us that there's a lot of that has been lost in us. We're a wayfaring people.
True.
We explored this vast Pacific Ocean
True.
without all of the implements that they have today. And yet over as the generations started to come, we grew comfortable. And you and I both know there's no growth in comfort. So
True.
having that experience, just like our forefathers or our forebears did, to leave the comfort of where we are to go somewhere to learn a new way of life is, and this may seem controversial to some people if they're listening and saying, "Oh," but you and I are both very different in the way that we think outside of the box. But do you think that even if we go to a place, here's an example, we're in Utah County. Do you find that because of that comfort, when people congregate, our Polynesian people, do you see that there is growth in people that get stuck together as opposed to those that say, you know what, I need a I'm tired of eating at McDonald's. I'm going to go eat at In and Out just to see what it's like, or somewhere else, some other establishment. But do you think sometimes we get stuck uh, uh, in our ways because there's a really bad term that I often hear. It's the blind leading the blind, and I don't know if that's related to this situation, but sometimes we'll move somewhere and then we'll say, I got to move close to the Polynesians because that's where I'm comfortable. There's nothing bad with that, but we're not experiencing other things that come with this new environment that we're thrown into. What do you think about
That's a wonderful
that?
insight on actually that's a really good thought. And to answer that question, um, if you're let me back up. If you're asking, is there growth, right? I think the first segment of your question was the first part of it, at least, was, is there growth? Um, if you're going to do the same thing over and over, I don't think there's any growth, right?
Right,
There really isn't. So I mean, if you're going to do the same 1-2 step, you're going to continue doing those same one
yeah,
two step. And I'll
yeah.
tell you, and you're exactly right. You become comfortable with that, which is okay. You know what I mean? If you don't
If
want
you're
to
okay
shake
with
up,
that, that's good.
yeah, if you're okay with that, I myself, so my family relies on me, right? I have that go-getter mentality. I have we're going to succeed as a family, or we're going to fail as a family, or learn as a family, whatever that looks like, right? So a lot of the reason why my family was able to endure that, and I don't carry it all upon myself, is simply the fact that I lead them, right? I lead them through example, right? So I don't have a problem trying something new. I think for me, a lot of that, a lot of the reason that has made me the has matured my personality to what it is now has stemmed from DJing. Believe it or not, DJing, because you're in a new situation every single time, right? And playing, you have to adjust to new things that come along. When people ask for a request, right? You got to play that into the mix. So you gotta adjust always, right? There's a lot of different lessons from DJing that I have used that built my personality to make it what it is. I am very assertive and very goal driven. I am very open to experiencing new things. I think a lot of that, right, has to depend on the person leading the family. If mom and dad, unless there's like that black sheep, which I think I was too, you know what I mean? I think I was too. I think I'm saying that because I kind of feel there was some part of you, Seti, that you understand the black sheep
Yeah.
mentality. Yeah, see that
You're
right
gonna
there. It
call me
just
out,
says a lot.
huh?
No, no, just the way it's funny because right when I said it, that look of
I was like,
that look of
oh.
defeat, just oh man, this guy's gonna go there. So that's why I bring it up. I think that's why we vibe so well together, is because we're both black sheep talking about black sheep things. You
Now
know
I'm
what I
the
mean?
closet. I'm the closet black sheep.
See, you always say some sus things, man. You always say those things that make me wonder what's up. So you like, I I hope you're recording this and looking back like, yeah, that was a little suspicious there,
Oh.
man. Like, just stop. Just when you get it up, right before you say it, to stop. But going back
I'm
to your
like,
question,
oh, okay.
like, ooh, let me get that back. Let me get that back. But telling you, going down that path, right? I think for myself, a lot of the reason how we were able to be successful is because I had that mentality. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna go do it, and I always think positive about everything, right? Oh, that's gonna be good. We're gonna be successful. Oh yeah, we're gonna do that, and
Yeah.
my wife would ask me a ton of things. It's Friday. What did you want to do? And I was like, dude, I'm glad you asked me. I actually been planning out a ton of things that I wanted to do. I had zero. I had zero plans on what. But guess what? Guess what? She asked,
Fake it
and
till you make it.
oh man, I don't know about fake it till you make it. I believe in facing it till you make it. I don't believe in the fake it till you make it thing. I believe in facing it, right? So I hit it all head on. I was like, dude, I am so glad you asked that because I have a whole entire weekend planned. I have a whole entire weekend planned. I wanted to go do this, and then drive here, and then go see this, and then I had dinner planned,
And then she
in
says no.
Richmond. No. And here's the thing. She's like, oh my gosh, you already had that. I was like, dude, I've been waiting for you to tell me. I've been waiting for you to ask me this question, right? And that's the thing. You get the courage. And guess what? I was writing those scripts out. And you would have thought I had this thing planned, man. That I mean,
But I think that's the word, though. It's
what
courage.
maybe I don't know what it
Yeah.
was. I just knew when the opportunity came. Guess what, man? I can sit here and miss home. I can sit here and miss my family too, and miss siblings, and miss being around familiar people. Or I can look at my family and man, I used to drag them. I literally would drag them.
Yeah.
Snoop, get in the car. Slim, get in the car. Get your mom. Let's go. We drive for hours. I think I put like thousands and thousands of miles on my car, but it didn't matter to me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And during the time, during the drive, man, I would make up questions. I would be the punchline. I was the punchline for the jokes. I would say something
Right.
dumb so that they can shoot at me so there's laughter, right? We talk about life things in the car. You know what I mean? We went and ate here. Like I have like a simple thing. We started off, on what was it? Appetizers. We go to one place to do appetizers. Go take pictures here. Then we go somewhere else for
Nice.
the main course, and then we drive somewhere else for dessert. Then we drive somewhere else so we could take pictures. Dude, we I did all these things, right, to keep my family. If I can motivate and move a party, I better damn sure hope that I
That's
can
right.
motivate my family to
That's
get
your
off
job.
their ass and go. And sometimes
Yeah.
that's my role. Sometimes I'm the father. Sometimes I'm the end joke. Sometimes I'm the guy, the punching bag that they can shoot at. I'm everything. I'm the motivator. I'm the supporter. I'm everything. I played all those roles. And
Yeah.
so to answer your question, is there growth? No, there's not growth if you want to do the same things over and over. Is there growth if you want to go experience? You don't have to move out of Utah to go experience these things, right?
Right.
For
Right.
me, it just happened to be that way, right? You can still carry these same things that I was talking about. So when it comes to weekend, don't sit at home with your wife, man. For me, I've been blessed enough to DJ, so I take my family with me. I take my wife with me. We go, we have a good times. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm like, dude, can I be DJ specialist? Do you have to be DJ specialist too? Like, there can't be two of us here, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So she's critiquing me. I'm like, I don't
Like,
think right
hey,
now is a good time for that. But my point is, my point is that it kept the spirit of the family moving, and
yeah,
and that's
yeah.
the thing. You don't have to move out of Utah to experience and have growth. You can
No,
still
you
live
don't.
here. You can still live
Yeah.
here. Just go do different things. Like you said, man. Go do some different. Go experience new things. You don't have to move out of Utah to experience these things. There's so many wonderful things in Utah. You just have to be creative with it. So come the
Yeah.
weekend, Setsi, I don't want you to sit at home anymore. I don't want you to, tell some of these dry jokes to yourself. I
Yeah.
want you to tell Jen, get in the car. I got an idea for us. Sui gave me something, man. We're gonna go here, then we're
Yeah.
gonna
We're
go
gonna try
here.
it.
You're gonna do it. You know what else I would recommend, like that we got onto, man, is TikTok. We, right,
I
man,
just
dude,
started, man.
hey, get
I'm a
on that.
little afraid, man, because I get on there, I see some of our people, I see other people, and I'm like, what made you think that this was a good idea?
Hey, hey, if you're not willing to fail at something, then you're not willing to
There's
grow.
a lot of failing that's happening on TikTok.
Hey, and I'm all right. And I'm all right
But
with
guess
that.
what? Those are the guys that are getting all the views because I don't know what it, I don't know what it is, but people like to see other people uh,
Fail at it.
be dumb.
It- yeah, and no, I don't know if it's being done. I really love that. I think people are genuinely trying to watch it and go, all right, man, that's
Okay,
totally outside of Setzi's realm, but he's doing it. Dude, I've been known for spinning and playing music, right? Here I am dancing, right? You know what I
right?
mean? A lot of people don't know, man. I've been a dancer, you know what I'm saying? For years, bro. I've been, nah, I can't dance. That's why I
No.
DJ. Anyways, but to get in front of that, because that's something my kids were doing it, right? Both of my boys were doing it. So guess what? That's what I was doing. So yeah, yeah, you want to talk about venturing and doing something and exploring and breaking bounds, right? But those are
Yeah,
the bounds that you need to start with. Do those at home. So, you know what I mean? So that's what I did a lot of. So I wrote those things.
nice.
When the time came, you got to be ready. So even now, I still do it. She still asks me, "Hey, what are we doing Friday?" Man, I'm glad you asked that question because I just have the whole weekend planned. And next thing you know, I'm out in Reno visiting Snoop. I'm like, okay, I don't know how this
Okay.
happened, but my point
Yeah.
is, those are the
I don't know
things.
how the tires pointed themselves to Reno, but we're here.
So it's good stuff. Good stuff. Good question. Good
Nice.
question. Good
Sweet. What do
question.
you think about this? I read this today. There's a difference between a healthy discussion and a pointless debate. There's a difference between a healthy discussion and a pointless debate. And it stuck with me, and I wanted to talk to you about this because I've seen way too much of this happening lately. It's always been a thing. Let's be honest. We have conversations, and all of a sudden we're arguing about something. We're like, how did we even get into this argument when we started our discussion on something that was healthy? Well, at what point do you realize, hey, this isn't going anywhere? And once you get to that point, you're like, how do you walk away from that conversation without ruining that relationship? Or do you?
That,
Is a relationship that's okay to ruin?
um, there's certain relationships that you just have to say, if it's drawing more, than your time and energy, then I'll tell you
Yeah.
it's probably not worth it.
Right.
So that's what you're going to have to ask yourself. If you're meeting John Doe for the first time, at the bus station, and he tells me about something and he starts bashing the church or bashing something that I believe in, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be mad at him because I'm never going to see him again, right?
Right.
I'm never going
Right.
to see him again, right? So
Yep.
that's the first thing. If this is a long time relationship that you want to keep, then you want to ask yourself after it's done, right? Was that worth any more of my time? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then if you can answer that question, then you know the answer to that, right? Second thing, if you're going to get into this, right? I think everyone that goes into a discussion such as this, you have to go in with an understanding, right? Of being willing to learn as well, right? Are you listening to learn? Or are you
Hmm.
listening to respond? Are you
Right.
listening so that you can argue? Okay, because I'm great at that too. I can argue with the best of them, or I tell myself listen to the point and see if it can benefit you in any way, right? I always have a simple thought, right? Take the good with it, right? And throw out the bad. So if you
Right.
think that something is going to be said in that discussion where you feel like that was a good thought, that's going to marinate in me, right? Then take it, right? Then take it with you, right? Again, I think it all goes back to, are you listening to learn and understand that person, or are you
Yeah.
listening to argue? So
Yeah.
that's really what it comes down to. Because if you're listening to understand, then guess what? It's no longer an argument, it's a discussion.
Yeah.
It,
Yep.
it, it continues as a discussion. So there's a lot of things that I've read, I've listened to on your podcast that had, made me go, man, that's a good thought. Then there's some others I'm like, that's some deep stuff, Sets. That's some deep
Yeah.
stuff, Sets. Be careful
Way
with
too
that,
deep,
man.
man.
Way too deep, man. I
Way
don't
too
know if
deep.
I can reach you on
Bring it
that,
back.
you know what I'm saying? Just bring it back a little bit.
Yep.
But my point is, are you listening to learn? Are you listening to
Yeah.
understand that? So that's
Yep.
really my thought on that. So good
Yeah.
quote.
And you're absolutely right. And there's some people you can love all people, but you don't have to be around everyone.
Agreed.
I might take that to the extreme. Some people might call me a hermit now because I just don't go out. But I think that there's value in showing love and compassion and kindness, giving people grace, but also giving them the distance to allow them and me to grow from that experience, that heated conversation. But there are those conversations where I just kind of sit back and I'm like I'm actively listening, but there's nothing that I can say to change the outcome of this
Yeah.
conversation,
Some
and
people are
that's okay.
set.
Yeah,
Yes. And some
that's
people are
okay.
set to that, and that's all right. I also want to extend that, right? That conversation even within family, right? There's
Absolutely.
family
Probably more
members.
in families.
Actually, that's where it
Yeah.
stems from. I mean, like I said, the co-workers I got to deal with, the occasional people that I run into every once in a while, those are all going to go with time. It's families
Yeah.
that
Yep.
I'm speaking of. So there's going to be certain situations in family that you just don't agree on, and that's where I teach a simple philosophy in at least in my family. I'm going to love you from afar. I'm going to love you from afar. So
Yep.
I'm going to still love you because we're family. But like you said, like you mentioned before, I don't have to be around you. I don't have to see you, So I don't know about you being a hermit. If that's the case, bro, I'll tell you, you got to go out. There's too much
Yeah.
Utah. There's too much Utah to allow those small moments that,
Yeah.
that interfere with that to stop. And I'll tell you, man, yeah, there's so much more life to live. So going back to your question, right? Yeah, there's a lot with that too. Especially within your own family, I can
Yeah.
love them afar, love them from afar. So
That's
I'm gonna
right.
love you, but I'm also gonna give you the distance, right? Because maybe we don't believe the same things, right? Maybe we don't see eye to eye on certain things. Maybe what you think isn't good is what I think is great. It's the next best thing. So, but if we can't agree on that, I'm still gonna love you because we're
Yeah.
family. But then I'm gonna go here and you go there. So
What do you think about fixers? Because there's some people. Let me tell you what I mean. There's some people that just can't let it go. They have to fix it, but they're trying to fix it the way they think it should be fixed. And because of that, you meet up with that person again. It could be a loved one, and this is really where I'm coming from. Is like you said, it's the family relationships that become very complex because of these situations. But there, I think a lot of families have fixers where like, no, we got to go fix this, until we agree on this. No, we agree to disagree on this point. because I love you more than trying to fix this situation. But I know in my extended family, there's people who just want to fix it. And I'm like, there's nothing to fix. You know, I've moved on. When we think about the gospel of Jesus Christ, I've given them my forgiveness, and I hope that they forgive me. And if they don't, that's their right. And there's nothing that we're always going to disagree on this matter. So because of that disagreement, we understand that we're not going to agree on it. So I'm going to love you regardless. But on this point, let's move on. But some people just can't let it go. They want to fix it. Have you ever experienced that?
I think every parent has experienced, or actually everyone has a family member that,
Yeah,
this falls on, right? What comes to mind in a situation like that with right? I think I'm that person too. I always want I'm a face it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna hit it head on and see if I can't, discuss that. I also believe there's something healthy with time and distance, right?
yeah,
Now
yeah,
I'm gonna use my family, right? Not my siblings, but I'm gonna use my extended family. So my parents, or my father's side of the family, it was difficult for them to always kind of get together. So there's a bunch of them, right? And now obviously the mantle has fallen upon us to kind of, do something. So since the recent passing of my brother, something, sparked in me to say, hey, let's bring people together, right? I think it's time. And even in doing so, right now, it's, all of my first cousins, all of those who are, within my age and even younger, we're trying to bring them together, right? And I think the time, right, that time that they were away from, from each other so long, that it was now it's come to that point where we can kind of actually come back together. So we have a huge family reunion that we're planning to try to bring everyone
mm,
together. And
nice.
I know that there's still some, some pushback from, a few family members, but their time is already gone. They're older. So
Right,
I always tell my cousins, like, hey, if they're not going to make it, love them, but let's think of the future. So I think that there's also something healthy with time and distance, right? And allowing them to feel that, right? I believe that there's a time and there's a place for all things. and,
right,
and I
absolutely.
think and I think there's nothing wrong with people who want to fix it because they long for it. I think that's an intrinsic, trait in within all of
Yeah,
us, is to be loved. I want to love someone and I want to be loved back, right? Those are
yeah,
intrinsic feelings that, that we're born with, empathy, right? Love, and I think that's the natural man that always wants to be loved, because that's what it is. So for the fixers that are out there, and I count myself as a fixer as well, I always want to try to fix it, but I also I'm also a realist to understand that
yeah,
it right now isn't going to work. I'm going to try it once, and if it can't work, I'm going to put a pause on it and come back. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to come back. So I think there's nothing wrong with trying to fix it. I also believe that there's nothing wrong with giving it some time and distance
yeah,
and allowing that to
yeah,
come. There's going to be eventually, a moment to come back. And when you do come back, again, find the simple common grounds, right? We don't have to meet on religion. We can always meet
yeah,
at, on some other fun things, right? And that's the beauty of thinking outside the box, right? Is finding new ways, doing something new, that rather than just, okay, we're going to meet together on Sunday. Does it have to be Sunday? Let's try to meet together on a Saturday, so no one
yeah,
feels like, spiritual side has to be involved, right? Hey, we can meet at a park. We can meet, somewhere. My point is, if you really want those relationships to happen, you will think
yeah,
outside the box, right? And I speak of those grounds on with the family. If you want the families to work, it's going to work.
beautiful.
If you don't want it to work, it's not going to work. So you have to be willing and open to realize when the right time, right? When the right timing of everything, and then boom, it'll happen. And then all of a sudden things start to open up, and it works. So
I love it. As you're talking, I was talking to a friend about this just earlier, and maybe it relates to a generational gap that we just need to. I think our generation has gotten better at it, but you think about, um, our parents and grandparents, there was that Old Testament mentality, and then there's the New Testament mentality, where it was shock and awe. The Old Testament, God had to treat his people differently and speak to them differently. Whereas when the Savior was on the earth, it was more about love and compassion and meeting people where they are. And I think having the opportunity to work with these young single adults for the past 4 years kind of softened my perspective on where they are spiritually, which is, by the way, I think the world, us as Polynesians, and I think that the church is in a great place with these young people, just like your sons. They just look at things from, uh, for lack of better terms, a New Testament perspective, not the Old Testament perspective. It's no longer so much the letter of the law, because we understand what the laws are. It's not so much the letter of the law, it's living by the spirit of the law. Because all of us live the letter of the law differently. Does that make sense? And
It
I think
does.
it as you're talking, um, your approach to it is a Christ-like approach. We're not going to agree. We need time to process this stuff. I think that's where good fixers are successful. Is You're not going to fix it in the next 5 minutes. It may take us 5 years to fix it, but we'll figure it out.
Agreed. Agreed. I also think that when you speak of generations, right? Um, it's funny. You ask a
It's not going
if
to
I
take
ask
push
my
power to fix it. It's not going to take
no
a belt.
no 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 no.
Yeah,
And here, let me take this approach, right? I'm going to throw this at you. I asked my oldest son, "Hey, you know, play me an old school track," and he'll play some Earth, Wind, and Fire. He'll play
nice.
some, some nice soul music, right? So he'll take it back, right? You ask Slim to play me old school, right? The youngest one, and he'll play something from like the mid 2020s,
Yeah,
early 2000. Like I remember one day we were listening to some tracks and this artist comes on. He's an early 2000 artist, man. He jumps on, right? And, my son's like, "Oh, that's pretty cool, man. Look at the old school." I'm like, this is not old school, right? It's not old school for
yeah,
us, right?
yeah, yeah,
So I think again, right? So speaking of that same terms of generation, right? Is there's so much that has gone on and transpired. They don't look back far enough, right?
yeah.
They're not
No,
going to remember that. So the life that I've given my kids, they don't know what it is to have the belt.
yeah,
They don't know what it means to be, the laying on of hands, as the joke would go, right? You
yeah,
say that to any one of us, man, we know, right? My kids, they grew up around a different culture, a different time, right? Where
yeah.
family home evenings were done in the car, driving around getting ice cream. Family home evenings when I grew up, man, that was
Totally
mom
different.
and dad's time to say,
Yep.
I saw you were sleeping during church, and I saw you not do what you were supposed to do. The hours that you were supposed to do, they're still piling up
Yep.
over here.
The
You
trash
know what I'm
is
saying?
still sitting
The
right
trash is
there.
still sitting there. I can't believe that,
Yep.
man. I go to work every day. This is the only thing. My point
Yep.
is simply that, right? So there's that generation, there's been within the generation that gap is there. So unless I do a better job at bridging Slim's understanding
Yeah.
of, hey, old school isn't the early 2000. Old school is here, the 70s, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
80s, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying? You know what I mean? So I think that's where we need to do a better job in educating the next generation, right? Of those things, right?
Yeah.
And going back to what we originally started, right? We are the keepers of that. We also are we're also the narrators of what these kids are going to see.
Yeah.
You speak of the young adults. That's a sensitive subject for me. That's something that's dear to my heart because right now I have three, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think something that I've made mention before, in our conversations, I think I've spoken to the ward a few times about it. Man, I remember just wishing that I could see my kids at church, right? Now I'm
Yeah.
I'm at the point like, man, if you're in the parking lot, that's sacred ground. When the church blessed this to
It's
build the
blessed.
chapel, it's
Yep.
blessed too. So guess what? That's just like you sitting in, in sacrament with us, right? Which also, and just another thought, just speaking, right? It's the same thing that I've taught my children about sacrament, right? If it, granted they don't take the sacrament, but what was given is the prayer. See, nobody thinks of that. No one thinks
Yeah.
that the prayer was said, and it wasn't said in secret. It was said out loud so that even those who can partake and can't partake still get a piece of that.
Hmm.
And that's where I'm
You're still
talking about.
reminded.
You're still reminded.
Yeah.
So those are the little simple lessons that I hope to continue to
Yeah.
push to my sons. Like right now, I'm at the point where, hey, do you still remember it's Sunday? You know what I mean? You still remember it's Sunday? You still got
Right.
that white shirt? I know it's palapala and stuff, and
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Smells a
saying?
little bit better, but it's okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no tie with it, but I'll tell you, man, if they can remember to put that on and even just drive to a parking lot and
Yeah.
sit in the parking lot, guess what? I'm gonna take that. You sit in the foyer, I'm gonna take that. You know what I
Right.
mean? You come into church and you don't partake it, I'm gonna take that. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm talking. You sit in the culture hall, you sit outside, wherever you make it to church on Sunday. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. So again, it's a matter of time. Right now may not be it, but give it a little bit. That's why I say
A little time.
there's a healthy it's healthy to have time and distance. They're gonna come around to it, and eventually they will. So I'm
Yeah.
good with that.
It's like that. I mean, it's a tired phrase now, but we just we just have to meet them where they are and
Agreed.
give it some time. And I think a lot of times we forget that it's not us who's going to change their hearts. It's the Savior that's going to change their hearts.
Exactly.
People go out
Exactly.
on missions thinking they're going to change everybody and baptize all these numbers of people. It's not you. It's the Savior. It's people being touched by the Spirit and their hearts are changed and converted. That's what happens. And we just need to give people their time, allow them or give them some grace, because when it's time and they felt God's love for them, they'll change.
And those are the soldiers that come back the toughest.
Yeah.
Man, and when they come back, I'm telling you, man, they're amazing. Like I said, I myself speak of these things because I am also a recipient of some parent or some, and when I say parent, I'm talking about my in-laws, man. They prayed for me and all my dumb things, right? And
Yeah.
so that's what I'm talking about. I am too a recipient of someone saying, if he could just make it to the parking lot, he'll
Yeah.
eventually get inside. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So I
Stay
speak of
connected.
that. Exactly. Exactly. And those are the simple truths that carry you on, to it. So good thought. That's a great question, Sets. Man,
Yeah.
you've been doing some homework, bro. Like straight up boost.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what you're doing. You're polling people around here or something.
No,
Those are some
man.
great questions, man. You're
this is
doing
this
it.
is just a good organic conversation, man. I'm just playing off you. It's
Oh
like you
man.
said before. When you're doing a gig, you got to read the room. You know where the
True,
energy is coming from.
true,
So you
true.
play based on what you're feeling from the crowd. And that's a life skill that a lot of people have not developed yet, myself included.
Oh,
I
I
you
don't know
know
about
me.
that.
I'm dry as hell. When I'm having a conversation with a group of people, everybody's talking one thing, and I'm like, man, I think I missed the joke like 5 minutes ago. So, okay, cool. That's a perfect segue.
And on to the next episode.
On
On
to
to
the
the
next
next one.
one.
All right,
Okay,
right, right. All
this
right.
is a segment I'd like us to do uh, on a regular basis. I'm going to read you some lyrics, and hopefully this doesn't go the wrong way, but we'll figure it out. um,
If you have
you
to, if you have to preface it with "if this goes the wrong way," Seti, it's most likely going to go the wrong way.
Yeah.
Whatever you say, don't do that. That's the first thing I'm going to do, dude. That's what black sheeps do, man. That's what we do, bro. I
Just
don't need you to do that. All right, I'm going to do that.
okay.
I'm going
Just-
to do that. So if you're going to preface the question by saying, this might go bad. Okay, Seti,
yeah.
it's probably going to go bad. But all right, we'll go down that pathway. We'll go
Well,
down
I
that
think
one.
that's why I titled this one "Hit or Miss."
All right.
Okay,
All
so
right. All right. Go.
I'm going to read these lyrics, and you know me, I'm all about the lyrics. It's the lyrics that move me in songs. I love the beat too, but
For
I'm
sure.
an old school guy. So
Okay.
I'm going to read these lyrics and see if you can figure out what song it's in. The listening audience, if you remember or recall the words of this song, hit us up in the comments. Okay. I've known that before. It's come and it's gone. For all that it's never been very long. What always seems to come is goodbye. But I believe in this love. It's not like before. My journey is done. I've come to the end of the road. 'Cause without you, there's just nowhere to go. Sound familiar?
No, I can't say it. Man, those are some deep lyrics, bro. I can't say you know what I mean? That's kind of terrible for a DJ not to know those lyrics. It goes to show how much I listen to the lyrics, but no, I don't know that track. What is it?
Here's the chorus. Maybe this might jog your memory. And this
Okay.
is old, so I won't hold it against you.
Okay.
And this time, love won't walk out on me again. This time I know I can win. Sure as the stars in the sky, you and I. That's the Whispers.
Oh
And
my
the song
gosh.
is This Time.
Okay. I'm not gonna
So
lie. I can't say I know that one. Can't say
I
I
wish
know
I
that
could
one.
play. I wish I could play a little bit of it, but
Maybe
I
the
know we
boys
might get.
can. Oh yeah, I was gonna say maybe the boys could throw that in there.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
maybe we'll play a little snippet of it. But man, we talked about this before. I wanted to introduce this segment in our conversations. You being a DJ, you being a man of God and music, and me being someone who is very touched by poetic things. That's why I'm a dork. Um, the lyrics of songs, especially these old songs, man, I'm a firm believer that um, those old songs, and maybe today too, but it seems like, you tell me if I'm wrong. It seems like the bass is so high, and all this pumping is just moving my spirit to a different place. Whereas these lyrics resonated so much with me at certain times of my life that I will never forget. We talked about this before. There are songs when I hear the first few bars, or if I hear the intro to a song, I'm immediately transported to another place in time, and that's what this song does for me. Though it's an old song. I think it was recorded back in '72 ish. But man, what a great song! If you have an opportunity, listen to it. It's The Whispers, and the title of the song is This Time. And I would say to the audience, if there's a song that has moved you in the past, and every time you hear it, hit us up in the comments. Let us know what that song is. I'd love to hear it as well. I listen to all kinds of different music. Some of it questionable, definitely, but most of it is very uplifting. And this is one of the songs that you listen to it. I'm rambling, but tell me what you think about it once you do. What do you think, Sui?
Um, I agree with you on that. Certain songs, they move you. The lyrics, they fit, right? I think it's something that I've mentioned to you before, right? Music is tied intrinsically with moments in your life, and I
Yeah.
think that that's the same thing with you. There must have been some pretty young thing that was that captured your eye at the moment or something that, you know what I mean, that held this song close to your heart because that's kind of where you probably got it from. And every time you listen to it, it's that guilty pleasure because Jen doesn't know why you're smiling and you're smiling because you're probably like, man, at some point, you know what I'm saying? There could have been someone different in that passenger seat. You know what I mean? I'm just going back to it. What I believe is, yes, I agree with you on that. Certain lyrics move people, right? That's why, the classics, right? The classics, they stand out the most. I will say, in reference to the music today, right? A lot of the tones and the tempos and the different sounds that you hear are all because that's indigenous of now. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So it wasn't made for you to move your soul. It was made to it was made to, to move the kids that are befitting of now. And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of there's a genre, right? There's a genre that my youngest one listens to that a lot of people don't understand, and I got into it because of him. And
Mm,
come to find out, it's become something that I've learned to love it because I'm just a fan of music in general,
right.
right? And it's
Right.
called K-pop. K-pop is
Oh
obviously,
yeah.
yeah. So K-pop in the States probably don't gain as much notoriety as it should, right? Because obviously hip
Right.
hop rules, around here, but outside of Utah or outside of the country, K-pop is huge, right? Some
Yeah.
of those
Yeah.
things. So again, it's all about it's all about understanding, the time and age, right? When they made some, I mean, if you listen to some of the early 50 songs, right? Some of the early 50 songs, the common name for a girl was Sue,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what was Sue, right? So Peggy Sue,
Yep.
Run Around Sue. Those, those. That's what I'm saying. During those times, those songs were befitting of that genre,
Yeah.
right? Or sorry, not genre, of that
Some of
timeline,
that
right?
bubble
Same
gum.
thing, right? Same
Yeah.
thing, like Lollipop, right? Remember Lollipop? You know what I mean? Because that was the fad back then, right? That was the
Yeah.
the swing thing, right? And then you fast forward. So I think every era has that, right? I remember coming up late 90s, early 2000s, man, hip hop was like, you know, everywhere, right? It
Right.
literally wrote culture. It was literally the culture of it, right? I remember my first time hearing a hip hop track on on a sportscast. Like I was watching, ESPN, and they played a hip hop song. I was like, "What in the world?" I still remember when the word hustler was introduced into the vocabulary as a positive thing,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And Jay-Z, when Jay-Z said it, right? Jay-Z, basically said, "Man, I'm a hustler." So everyone now that's a common corporate America phrase. You got to be a hustler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to be a hustler.
Yeah.
You got to get it right, and that's relevant nowadays. That's what I'm saying. All these things
Yeah.
have changed time, right? They change time. They change with it. So I don't knock the music nowadays. Is it for me? Uh, Probably not every single track, right? But
Yeah.
that's the beauty of being a DJ is I'm forced to listen to all these things and play what is necessary, right? So lyrics, I believe for myself, for me and you, right? There's certain hymn music that,
Yeah.
especially in right. So there's certain hymn in English that we sing that I'm like, okay, that's all right. And then you hear it in the Samoan, I'm like, oh man, the words are so deep,
It's
right?
different. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Lyrics, right? Lyrics are big. So I don't excuse the fact that, a lot of the music nowadays don't have the writing that they used to, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't also make that bad music. I just think it's something not
Yeah.
befitting of your time, but I don't think it's bad. And I try to understand a lot of that. So from church hymns to, just even love ballads, right? No one writes a love ballad anymore. They write jingles. Everyone writes a jingle, and I
Right.
get it.
Right.
So
Because the
yeah,
attention
so
span is shorter.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
shorter, and at the same time, man, the powers that be in music, they have taken, they know what gets people, right? So I remember they
Yeah.
used to sign you on talent. I remember they used to sign you on talent.
Right.
I remember there was this artist, Sean Kingston. They signed him because he had so many views on YouTube at the time, so he got a record deal. Now, the powers that be sign people because of their influence, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a lot more. Hey, this guy might suck at singing, but as long as they can get the views, that's really what they want.
Yeah. He
So
knows how to
again,
sell it.
right, they know how to sell it. So again, there's
It,
there's a lot of negatives and positive to it.
you're right, though. It's just like any other art form. Um, when if you're an artistic person, uh, one thing will catch your eye, and that's what you want to roll with. As opposed to over time, it, some people may see the beauty in the Sistine Chapel, but more people will be drawn to more photographic imagery or something that's developed in a video. It, you're right. Times change,
Yep.
just like our spirituality. It's an art form, and this is the way the art form is going, and we can't knock it just because it doesn't resonate for
No.
us.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's okay. And that's what I'm
yeah,
saying. You have to be you have to listen to music. It just like in a conversation, you have to listen to music with an understanding heart. Like I want to understand this. I want to know why that is what it is,
yeah,
right? And then it's the same
yes,
thing. So, art and everything, whatever you want to call it, right? The same thing, like you're right, Michelangelo, right? During his time, man, he was like unreal. He was known as
yeah.
the great, right?
That's
So
right.
now I remember driving around downtown, I see like this box that's hollowed out and it's put on a pedestal, and they tell me that's art. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess that's art, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying to understand. Oh, what does that mean? What again? Because there's a lot of different lessons that
Yeah.
you can learn from that. So it goes all the way back, tying it back to our original conversation, right?
That's right.
Is you don't have to travel outside of Utah to experience a lot of these things. It's the way you view it, right? Perception is reality. Perception is
That's
reality.
right.
What you
That's right.
perceive it to be, that's what it's going to be. You think this place sucks? Guess what? This place sucks. But if you
It's gonna suck.
look at it like, right, if you look at it, man, there's so much wonderful and positive things that I can learn from it. You're going to find those things too. So
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword. So good
Yeah.
question.
And
I like that.
at the very least, you may not like it, but now you have an opinion about it,
And I'm okay.
and it's an informed opinion because you've experienced that.
Right.
Whereas you hear it secondhand, and you're like, "Oh yeah, so and so said this, this, and this about it. I'm not going to do it." Well,
Yeah.
then that's not an informed opinion. That I think there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the world today that we're hearing secondhand instead of doing our own research and saying, this
Agreed.
is what I believe after all of my research. Now I've formed an opinion about this thing. It may not
Agreed.
be right to you, but as far as I'm concerned, this is what I believe.
Agreed.
And that I think, excuse me, I think that's where we get so caught up and on the wrong side of things with our gospel knowledge. Um, Again, we're not trying to dismiss or down anybody about this, but some people, and it's okay, come to church to be taught. We're all there to be taught by the Spirit. But if you come to church after reading Come Follow Me, studying your scriptures, then you have an opportunity to participate in the conversation. But if your participation is, oh yeah, 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 then that's the amount of growth you're going to experience for that day. So, what I would say to those who are listening is if you're doing it, fantastic, because that's what Heavenly Father wants us to do, learn and then share through the Spirit the things that you're learning.
I agree.
Sorry.
I will make mention on that thought, right? um, and whether you have done your study or not, right? It doesn't excuse the fact that you're weak. The experiences that you've had during your week qualify you to still add to that,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
So it's something that I think in our previous conversations prior to this, right? We spoke about our gospel is one that there is no formal education.
No.
Everybody, if you notice the way the church works, they call you and then they train you. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
They
Yep.
call you, they train you,
Exactly.
right? So I mean, and
You're gonna
it's
do
rare.
this.
Right. It's rare that you're going to get a calling that you've done it, for. And if you have it, if you have, great for you. That means there's something else within that. There was an aspect of that calling that you didn't understand that you need to, focus on. Right. But
Right.
if you notice the common pattern for the gospel is they call you and then they train you. Right. So what does that tell you? It says that your life experiences qualify you for these things. Right. There's a lot of bishops that, man, they've never been bishops before, right?
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you know you were going to be a bishop when you got called?
No.
Exactly.
The
Right.
church was not true when I was bishop.
Right. And you had to go through that. So I will make mention that whether the goal is you're right. The goal is to practice and read your Come Follow Me. But at the same time, if you didn't read it and you participate and you come in class and you hear something that moves you and you feel that it's relatable with an experience that you've had through your life or
That's
that
right.
week, then guess what? You're qualified. No,
Yeah.
no one's gonna make you take a test, a written test first before you raise your hand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If that
Right.
was the case, there's a lot of old men at the old Samoan Wars that I used to go to that would have
Yeah, I was
failed,
like,
man. They should
well,
have failed, man. But
yeah, it's
you know
like
what
that
I'm
question
saying?
has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but okay, let's talk about it.
Exactly. And I love the way that the old Samoan men used to ask questions just so they can answer it. You
Yeah.
know, this, you would answer
Yeah.
the whole time, and all they were waiting for was to hear all the wrong answers so they could say, anyway, so
Yeah.
that's funny, Cole. But I'm saying what I'm saying is all those people are everybody's qualified. That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
beautiful thing about the
Yeah.
gospel, everybody is qualified. You're qualified. If you have life experiences, guess what?
Bring
You're
it.
qualified.
Bring it.
Nobody on first Sunday is not permitted to go up there and speak unless you're going to go up there and do some dumb things. Then hey, man,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Unless you're going to go up there and confess your
Yeah.
sins. You know what I'm saying? Confess your sins. You know what I'm saying? That's probably not the right part.
Which we would
Everybody
like
is
to hear.
oh,
If you
you're
would like
that
to
guy.
share,
You're that guy. You're like, go ahead and just tell me, man. Just
go
go ahead.
ahead. Come on. Don't leave us in suspense. Come on.
Jeez, who was it that you're mad at?
What?
Is it? Is it? No, no. You're terrible. You're terrible, man. You're terrible. I
No,
can't
but
believe that.
you're absolutely right. Just because you didn't study doesn't mean don't come to church. Or
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Come.
come to church, participate, and do whatever it is. But it does help when you have an opportunity to study and feel the Spirit, so that you can share it with other people.
Most
So
definite. Most
yeah,
definite. Most
cool.
definite. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that.
We all
It's
are.
yeah. I'm just
Yeah.
glad I teach primary. You know what I'm saying? I teach primary
Yeah.
kids. I'll tell you what, man. Them kids don't even know. Right now, they think I'm Moses himself, man. Like this guy is gonna part the Red Sea right now the way he's talking. You know what I mean? Them kids,
Yeah.
them kids, boy, they love me. I think they love me.
Well, speaking of that,
Yeah.
just going back, and I think this ties into what we're talking about. We talked about earlier, where you have to know who you are. Like when you went to Virginia, your family, some of your family is in Tennessee. You have to know who you are when you're placed in those situations. How you're going to respond is up to you, but you initially have to know who you are. I think so. And you had an
Great.
experience last week or a week ago
Yeah.
where you had to deny a request from someone for a specific song,
Right.
and knowing who you are, it was hard, but you stood your ground, and in that moment, you knew who you were, you knew who you represented, and it turned out to be a really good experience for everybody, and they had no clue what was going on, but
Right.
you did what you knew had to happen. Tell us about that a little bit.
No, that's a great story. And like I said, I share this for the simple fact of growth. I don't mean to knock
Yeah,
my peoples down, that were there. But like I said, I think you mentioned that I was playing at a concert just this past weekend, Stan Walker, which I will just throw this in there. Man, Stan Walker is amazing, amazing
yeah,
artist. Anyways,
and he's
the wife
pretty.
and
He's a pretty guy. So
we talked about this already. You gotta stop saying those things, man. This is completely sus, man. Completely sus, man. Like
No, I'm
who's all?
saying Maori
No,
people,
no, okay,
man.
okay,
For
just
some
stop.
reason, these
Dude,
Maori
stop.
people,
That's it.
man, they
You're
got it
just thinking the
all.
whole. You're just thinking the whole, man. You're literally making this even worse, right?
Hey, did
So,
you know that I'm Maori too? So
oh my gosh, man, you sound like my wife, man. I'll tell you, Stan Walker had everybody in the place, man, thinking they were Maori, man. I'll tell you, that dude was amazing, man. That dude was amazing.
he
Oh,
got converts.
it's conference, right? So,
Sorry, finish your story.
well, the sad thing is, you know the story, and you're still laughing at it, man. That's terrible, man. So, I'll tell you, it was crazy. I'm cutting it up, right? Stan Walker's just about to come out, and I'm in this moment, right? That the heat is on, right? There's so
Yeah,
much going on, right? People are dancing, having an amazing time, man. There's people screaming, you know what I'm saying? I'm screaming, they're screaming, we're screaming. Like, it was unreal, right? So everybody's just like having a good time. And one of my partners, asked me to play something, and I said, I looked at him, I said, no, we're not going to play that. So quickly went to another track and we moved on. We moved on. Didn't even think anything about it, right? I come down and I'm sitting there watching Stan Walker. So the wife and I are enjoying. I'm watching her pretend she's Maori and do her haka and pukana dance over there. I mean, she's literally just thinking she was like performing on the stage, right? So I'm watching it and I get a text from a really close bishop friend of mine of Eagle Mountain 14, and he says to me, probably one of the coolest compliments that I've received, most recently. He says to me, "Great job, brother. Love to see you in your element, man. The ward was so happy to see their DJ up there, right? You know what I mean? Because they're claiming me at the ward. Shout out to my ward. You know what I mean? Shout out to my ward. Shout out to all, Eagle Mountain 14 and 15. But he sends me that text, and that's what I was saying was. I didn't realize there were so many people that there with their families and,
Yeah.
that looked up to me, right? And, admired what I did, right? So at that moment, that's kind of where, the thought, the whole story stemmed from, whereas I chose to go, instead of left, I went right. I went right and did something that I knew, and in return I realized something that I preach to my kids, and I live, I'm not some of these parents that, or a father, sorry, I don't knock any other parent the way they teach.
Yeah.
I am that parent that says, if I'm going to preach it, I'm going to live it. I made a decision a long time ago of who I was, and that's something that I already understood. So I didn't have to make that decision again. At the end of the day, I'm still a father. I'm still a church member. I'm still, a priesthood holder. I'm still all these things, right? I'm still a covenant holder. I'm still a disciple of Christ, right?
Right.
Whether I'm playing at a concert like Stan Walker's, or playing at some celebration, right? This isn't something that I can just take off like a hat or a coat. Like I said before, this isn't something like Sunday. I got to put on my hat. I got to put on my coat because I'm gonna go to church, and they're gonna scan to make sure that I have my testimony on my chest. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna wear my
Yeah.
LDS on my chest. You know what I mean? I'm gonna stand on business on this, right? But
Yeah.
those are all things that I can do subtle and not have to. I mean, my peoples, right? My partner who were part of, they didn't think of anything of it. They were just in the excitement of it. And I
Yeah.
don't knock him for, it was all in good, to move, right? The whole goal was to move the crowd. He thought one thing, I thought different. And in choosing the path that I went on, right? I was reminded that, hey, there's a lot of people that still look up to you, that were excited about what you did
Yeah.
and thought you did great. And so two parts of that, right? The first part was the fact that something I had mentioned to you before, and this is something I always share to my kids: know who you are before you leave the house, because the world will tell you something different.
Yep. Yep.
Know who you are before you leave the house, because home is where you foster and you build all these testimonies and you build these things, right? So cry, do whatever it is at your home, but then when you leave, already know who you are. So I already knew who I was. I was DJ specialist that happens to be, right, that is also, not happens, who is also, a member. So those two things go hand in hand. But I will not excuse the fact that, again, the reason why I knew to make the choice that I made is because I also made the wrong choice too. I've also made
Yeah.
the wrong
Comes
choice.
from
I've, al-
experience.
it comes from experience, man. I
Yeah.
also made the wrong choice that made me go, man, don't do that again. I played some things where, family members, and I'm sure, past bishops, you know what I mean, have probably looked at me like, this idiot, man, get this guy off of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've learned. So
Yeah.
I don't excuse, the process of failure, right?
Yeah.
I think failure was the greatest teacher in my life. You know what I mean? Failure was with me at every pinnacle point of my success. So the success, and I'm going to chop it up on Saturday as a success. Not only did we have a great time as a community watching Stan Walker, I got to perform and do something that I love, and I'm passionate about. And I
Yeah.
also made the right decision in many things, right? But I don't excuse that. The reason why I was successful on Saturday is because Friday, Monday through Friday. I also, and I referenced that, and I make mention of that, in in my past, right? I messed up Monday through Friday so that I knew what to do on Saturday.
Yeah. Yep. Fantastic. That's beautiful. Appreciate, bro. Let's end on this note. If there's anything else you want to talk about, please feel free. We wanted to add kind of a cultural element to our conversations in
For
this
sure.
segment.
Okay.
And there's a Samoan saying, real quick, quote, "O le tele o sulu e mawaifi ngota," unquote. And basically, if I'm if I'm translating this correctly, not perfectly, but as close as I can, um, the more light you have, the easier it is to fish. It comes from understanding that collaboration is necessary for us to, I mean, your learned experience, my learned life experience, all of the experiences, we've talked about this several times in this session. Um, the more light we can shed on something collectively, the easier it is for us to learn from those experiences. It's not always going to be great, but if we can collaborate and talk about things and shed light on things that are necessary for us to grow, then it will help all of us, not just one of us. And if I, uh, it goes back in the days when Samoans went, or Pacific Islanders, I should say, went down to the beach to fish. All they had was their little torches. They'd stick their dried coconut leaves into the fire, and they would walk down to the beach. And it was those fires that would help them walk along the reef and find fish and shellfish, etc. And I think I wanted to close on that because if we don't share these things, these little nuggets of knowledge between us and with the world, then this someone reminded me of this. I'm just paraphrasing this quote, that if we don't sing our song, we're going to die with our song in us. And it's just time for us to be a little bolder, a little a little courageous in sharing the things that will help us, and help others bring shine the light on Christ, because that's really where we want to be, is putting the glory on God and helping others, even within our own families, come closer to Christ and help them develop their own relationship with Christ. So, any parting thoughts on that, Sweet?
Nope, I support you on that. I believe I learned something with you sharing that. So I learned something that I'm going to take with me because I mean I didn't realize that, right? And I never heard that phrase before. So that was awesome. So I learned something new from this part. Uh, I do agree with you on that. That it is our job to I think it's our job to push that content out. I think it's also our job to educate the other generation so that they can do it right. I think there's a lot of people within this circle or trend of Polynesians that are doing similar podcasts and and I think to each one of them I got to give props because again that's that same fire that you're talking about, the more torches that light this up, and I love to see more of it. I don't think the only if I were to think of a Samoan proverb, it's only part of it that I use, right? E ngau ngau i le i'a ai whiwhi le vai. You know what I mean? So we all want the fish, but we're scared of the water. So that's where your
Yeah.
boldness comes out. You got to be willing to stand out. And I think you've done a great job at that. I think, you have inspired me to share these things because I'll tell you, I never would have thought of being on here. So and I never would have taken the chance to try something out like this because again maybe that was a part of my own insecurity that I was like I don't know if I should do that, but
Yeah.
you kind of pushed that out to me, and hearing this I understand the reasoning behind it of what you're doing, the message behind it. So I need to do my due diligence in upholding that. So I don't have any additional thought besides the simple fact that I want to thank you as well as all those who are behind the scenes for allowing me the opportunity. And I do apologize in my comments. And this is that Samoan. When they do the Samoan Fafakai at the end, and they apologize for things. So that's what this
Yeah,
is, right? I apologize for anything that I might have said that would have offended anybody in my stories or in my sharing, right? I think most importantly, I ask permission of my family, my wife and my children, because it's their experiences, and that I'm using to on this platform to educate others. So I apologize and I ask, forgiveness to my family, if I've said something that wasn't indigenous of what they were trying to do. Maybe they didn't want it to be known, and here I am just sharing these things, so casually because you know what I mean. That's what Dad does. He just kind of rambles on. But yeah, if
yeah,
anything, first of all, I want to thank you and your staff for making this happen. Obviously, thank the good Lord for the opportunity and the experiences I have, and most importantly, I want to thank my family for allowing me to share those experiences, regardless, even though they never signed anything off to share their names. I just did it anyway. So,
yeah,
um, and with that, right, I will say to the audience, um, if you learned anything from at least my failures, and my struggles, is that we're not a perfect family and that anyone can make it. We are all recipients of the wrong decisions that have made in life that brought us here. I think
yeah,
all the mistakes that I had, because it made me better who I am today. So if you can learn from this and save yourself a mistake, you're gonna have to face the mistake. You're gonna
that's
make
right.
mistakes, right?
Thank me
But
later.
yeah, you can come back and be like, so look, I know what you're talking about. I talked to Seth. He's a little suspicious sometimes with his comments. So I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. No, no,
Yeah.
I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But nothing but love for you, Seti, as well as the family. Thank you so much for having me on here. Like I mentioned before, man, it's all about just you said it best. Just sharing more light onto that so we can, so we can see better in this world that we're all going through together.
Beautiful. Thank you, brother.
Thank
Now, to the audience, to close things out, I'm really trying to convince Sui to make this a regular thing. So please hit us up in the comments. Let us know how we did. Also, please vote to bring him back as often as possible. I'm trying to
you.
get him to
Oh,
do it at least once a week. And
oh,
you're
oh.
going to love this guy when you get to know him better. Thank you all for listening. Please look for the next episode. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. We always love to hear back from you. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.
All right. See you guys.